did not touch him, but standing there between the two large men and sweating profusely, he felt hogtied. The other people waiting to go through health inspection and passport control stared at him. Maybe it was all those eyes on him, but his sweat turned cold, and he grew so flustered that he swallowed wrong and started coughing uncontrollably, until the blood rushed to his face and his cheeks burned. The two medical examiners took him down a long, featureless corridor and into a room that looked as if it had just been dipped whole into a bucket of white paint. The floors were tiled in white, and the walls and ceiling were painted white. There was a small cot covered in white sheets, and a table and chairs that were also white. Everything gleamed like a freshly bleached and disinfected sink. All that white made the room look frigid, and indeed the air conditioner was set so low that he caught a chill and coughed several times while rubbing the goosebumps that broke out on his arms. One of the medical examiners directed him to sit and slowly sat down across from him. The examiner's friendly, polite tone put the man at ease. He had pictured himself being thrown to the floor the moment he stepped into the room. The examiner apologetically explained that the man had an unusually high temperature and was being detained so he could receive a complete checkup. The man barely understood a word of it. Not that the examiner's choice of words was particularly difficult, but the man was not very good at the language of Country C to begin with, and he was too flustered to catch the words he did know. He stared blankly, feeling like a fish in a tank, as the examiner repeated the same words over and over, until the other examiner who'd been standing by lost his patience and went to fetch an electronic dictionary. Between the dictionary and a mix of speaking and writing, the man finally understood that he was being detained for quarantine. He felt a deep sense of relief that had nothing to do with whether or not he was infected. The first examiner had him change into a hospital gown and lie on the cot, and then inspected him from head to toe, searching for symptoms of the illness. The man kept raising his head from his prone position and straining to keep track of the two examiners. "There's nothing to worry about," the examiner said gently. "This is just a preventative measure." He seemed to sympathize with the man's anxiety. "Preventative?" "Yes, just think of it as a regular physical. Most of the time it's nothing, and you can laugh about it later." "I've felt a cold coming on for some time." "Oh, then you're definitely infected." The man sat bolt upright in shock, but the examiner laughed and gently pressed him back down by one shoulder. "Calm down, I'm only joking. As a matter of fact, the illness that's been going around is no different from the common cold in that they're both caused by unknown viruses. The only difference is that a cold responds to aspirin, while the new virus does not. Don't worry, most of the people who come in here with fevers turn out to only need some aspirin." Though he struggled to understand the words the examiner kept repeating, the man was relieved to recognize nothing and aspirin. This incident would soon be just an amusing anecdote from his time spent working in Country C. He found himself suddenly craving an aspirin as if it were some delicious food. Just one aspirin, small and round as a button, he thought, would not only take away his faint headache and his cough, but also cure his hangover and his anxiety. Instead of an aspirin, the examiner held out a cotton ball soaked in alcohol. He rolled up his sleeve to make it easier to draw blood. His forearm was black and blue. "That's an unusual color," the examiner said as he searched for a vein. The bruises on the man's arm seemed to turn darker blue by the minute, like a shy little girl whose cheeks turn redder the harder she tries not to blush, he thought. After several failed attempts to find a vein, the examiner finally managed to slide in the needle. Meanwhile, the man struggled to remember what had happened the night before. Had he gotten in a fight? Judging from the bruises, it was obvious someone had hit him. He'd never won a fistfight before in his life. Pure red blood filled the syringe. He wasn't sure if it was the color of his blood or the fact that he could not remember a single thing from the night before, but something made him frown. The results weren't ready until the next day. During his overnight detention, the man had examined the mysterious marks on his arms one by one. The stark white of the room made the blue of his bruises even more conspicuous. But no matter how he stared at them, he could not remember how he'd gotten them. It wasn't the first time he'd blacked out while drinking, but he had never woken to find himself injured. His lost memories of the night before had vaporized without a trace into his bruises, into the ache deep inside his bones, in the unexplained fear and unpleasantness he felt every time he tried to search his memory. He grimaced as he fingered the large, distinct